things are going to start rolling. So Dr. Blaze will go through the program introduction. He'll introduce himself. He'll pass it off to you. You'll introduce yourself. You'll say, our disclosures are on the screen. When you say that, I will put something up on the screen. You don't have to do anything. It'll just be there. And then Dr. Blaze will go through the learning objectives. You guys will chat for a couple minutes there, and then we'll roll into the slide presentation. For the slides, Dr. Blaze is going to have control of the slides for the entire presentation. I think he'll be the first one to tell you that having to switch on and off of slides repeatedly is not the smoothest process or the most fun. So we have found that it is easiest to just give one presenter control. He's done this a few times already, so he gets to be the guinea pig again. So Dr. Blaze, if you want to put up your slides, I'm just going to switch it to...
I'm still being under control.
Share the screen, application window.
Here we go.
Yep, and then just go to slideshow mode.
Well, I did. Why is it not coming up? There it goes.
There's
Are you seeing the slideshow?
delay. Yes. And I don't think you're on the first slide.
Does that little box come up saying that I'm speaking, or is that
Yeah, no,
it'll get deleted.
There's
So
the first
if yep. So Dr. Sublett, if you look on the calendar appointment, there is a moderator guide, and the moderator guide will show who is presenting which slides.
Yeah, I've got that. I'm looking at as Dr. Blaze. Is that something the audience sees, or is that just something we're?
No.
We're going to remove that entirely.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
So basically, Dr. Blaze will present this slide. Dr. Blaze, you can go ahead and advance.
So what we'll do here, Jim, this slide, so if you see the script, so I'll say, today's conversation is going to focus on treatment. However, before we examine different therapeutic options, let's talk a little bit about how to establish whether. So you want to just talk some there. I was just, you may, if you wanted to talk about how you assess patients clinically, and then I can talk about how it's done in the study, which gets into these slides.
Okay.
In other words, I thought we would talk first, and then I would then share the screen, and then I would cover these slides, and then it would be turning back to you. I will tell you this: there will be a little lag as far as changing the slide. So just so you'll know that.
Okay.
So Dr. Blaze, if you just want to advance forward to the next section. Okay,
Yeah.
so here, Dr. Sublett, actually that image on the left is going to change, just so you know, but you would present this slide and then you could say something along the lines of, on the next slide you'll see, and that will cue Dr. Blaze.
Okay.
So like I said, I'll get you an updated deck tomorrow. Dr. Blaze, can you advance all the way to the summary, please?
Okay. One other thing, though, Jim, if you look at the discussion thing, after I go through the first group of slides I have, and it says, let's take a closer look at specific atopic dermatitis treatment options. And you like to start, but then it says, brief overview of traditional therapy. So you're going to mention your topical corticosteroids and Lisaboro and calcineurin inhibitors.
Okay.
And we don't have slides for that, but if you would like us to create a slide when you send your comments on the deck, just include that.
Okay.
You know, we tried not to make the slide deck too dense because a lot of people will be watching this on their phone.
Okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
No go to the very end?
Yes.
Okay.
Perfect. So Dr. Blaze will present the summary. He'll read all of that out, and then he will turn off his screen share. So Dr. Blaze, you can go ahead and do that. All right. And then he'll say something along the lines of, Dr. Sublett, what are your final thoughts today? Anything, else you want to touch on, etc. You guys, that discussion is all on you guys. I am not going to pretend that I know what the key points of this presentation are, but then Dr. Blaze will just read like one more sentence that says, don't forget to get your CME. And then at the very end of the presentation, so just like at the beginning, you saw the welcome slide. At the end, I'll put up a thank you slide. Once you see the thank you slide go up, you're done. You can exit out, log off. If you need anything from me after that point, my cell phone number will be in the user guide. You can always give me a call. But once you see that thank you slide go live, we are all set on the integrity side. And then just one other point of housekeeping. And Dr. Blaze, you're familiar with all of the sharing and tweeting. But Dr. Sublett, one thing that we do ask, in the 5 minutes when the welcome slide is up on the screen, if you could retweet the live stream on Twitter. In the user guide, there are directions for that. So once you see the welcome slide go up, it takes like between 60 and 90 seconds for the stream to appear on the Twitter page. And we have the link to the Twitter page in the user guide, quote tweet, all the directions for how to do it will be in the user guide. But in those few minutes, if you could just share that so that your followers know that you're doing a live stream and hopefully tune in to check it out, that would be great.
Okay, good.
Any other questions on the technical side?
How, I know it said a half an hour. How realistically, what time do you want us on? By 15 minutes or so? Or Michael, what have you been doing?
Dr. Blaze likes to come on at 30 minutes before and
Yeah,
just
I
hang
usually
out.
come on 30 because I just get paranoid.
That's fine. We can do that.
I'll open
Just
the
to make
stream.
sure
Say 30 when everybody does 15. I didn't want to be sitting here by myself for 15 minutes. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll open
I
the
agree. Yeah.
at 7:30 Eastern. As long as you're on by 7:45, we should be okay.
I'll be on. No, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Jim, the other discussion thing
Oh.
might want to look at is after you give this slide on head-to-head clinical trials. So I don't know if you've looked at that. We're supposed to have a little bit of discussion, and then go into, and then we hit the session summary. So if there was anything you wanted to mention there too.
Okay. Yeah, let me look at it. Let me look at that. I'll get back to you.
So one of the things Larissa and I talked about, we don't have on all for the biologics, so for dupilumab and the JAK inhibitors, we don't have a slide on side effects. So you just want to talk for side effects, or you want to slide on dupilumab and side effects?
And Dr. Blaze, I was talking about this with Patima,
Okay.
who wrote the slides today, and
Yeah.
her reasoning for not putting in slides for that was the same as what you had said earlier. The fact that, number one, the data is incomplete. With the JAKs, we don't have study findings yet. And number two, what you said about if you put the data in text, it doesn't really speak to the fact that these side effects exist, but they are not really showing up in the studies.
Okay.
So that was why she left them out of the deck, but she did that with the intention that it would be discussed. She agrees that you can't ignore it completely.
Okay. So I'll definitely. So if you want to discuss the side effects of dupilumab when we get to that section, and I'll mention some of the side effects that have been seen, or possible side effects that may occur with the JAK inhibitor.
Where do you want to put that? I mean, where have you been?
So I thought probably the best place to do it would be after you do the slide on the phase 3 head-to-head clinical trials, so we could discuss, well, we've gone over the clinical data, you know, what's known about side effects for these treatments. So if you wanted to cover the conjunctivitis with dupilumab, and then I'll just go over some of the theoretical possibilities with JAK inhibitors, because the problem is there's an extremely long list that can occur, though it's not really, there have been rare cases so far.
So it'd be like the phase 3 head-to-head clinical trial slide right after that.
Yeah. So you cover that slide with that covers the dupilumab or that one with abrocitinib versus dupilumab. And then after that, we can get in and say, well, you know, what about side effects that we see with these particular agents? And I think we can just discuss that there, and then get into that would kind of be the end of the program.
Okay. Is there any Q&A? Do they send in questions, or is it strictly didactic?
Strictly didactic. We are hoping to implement Q&A in the future, but we're not there yet. This is only our 4th live stream.
Okay, so because probably that's where people may bring up side effects if there was a Q&A anyways. Okay.
Yeah.
And at the very beginning, you mentioned, let me go back to the deck here.
You want me to open up the deck?
I've got it. I'm just going to, you said at the beginning, you said something about discussing, right after the first slide, were you thinking about assessing just overall assessment of AD, or more, severity, or, before you get into the?
So just as like a little bit of background, because I think this would make a little bit more sense this way, and I didn't think of it. So Dr. Blaze and Dr. Silverberg from in DC, he's a dermatologist, they did basically a part 1 where they went over diagnosis, assessment, severity. So this is really primarily treatment-based. Okay. And I think Dr. Blaze, I think what you mentioned was traditional treatment.
Yeah, so I thought if you wanted to cover here before I open up the slide, so I'll say, so I've got a comment here. Now, before we examine different therapeutic options, let's talk a little bit about how to establish whether a treatment, well, it doesn't really talk about it there.
But we can put a note in there if that's something that you want to cover.
Well, do you want to mention older treatments, or just go straight to talking about how we assess, how you assess efficacy of your patients in the clinic? And then I was going to cover how we do it in clinical studies, which gets into these slides.
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, so what you're thinking about just before these current therapeutics we have that, it's sort of like an asthma we do with asthma, where you're mild, mild moderates. You can just pretty well stick to routine treatments, but now we have opportunities for more of the more severe, difficult to control atopic derm. I think to me, I know we did that thing for EAACI, but to me, what I see is so many people are pretty well stuck in the older therapeutics approach to AD. Even though probably because we're not as familiar with them as maybe they are with some of the asthma therapeutics, or maybe just because we just recently have had a more advanced therapeutic for atopic derm. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I can elaborate on something like that,
Yeah. So maybe we need to change my dialogue there.
Yep.
We're focused on treatment. Before. So first, we'll discuss the treatments for mild to moderate. We'll just mention the treatments for mild to moderate atopic dermatitis,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can do the second part here,
Okay.
which would be how do we determine a treatment's effective. So we can say something like here are the treatments that we've had, and then we'll be talking about treatments for patients with more moderate to severe disease tonight.
Okay.
Okay. We'll put that
Something like
together,
that.
and even if we put it in, you can certainly tweak it. You're more than welcome to
Yeah.
do that, but we will adjust that. That's not a problem.
Okay.
And then the one housekeeping note that I have on my end, and Dr. Blaze, you know this, but Dr. Sublett, collared shirt is fine. You don't need a tie. You don't need a jacket. This is Facebook. This is Twitter. It's not super, super formal. So please don't feel like you have to get super dressed up. As far as we are
Yeah,
concerned.
I've already made that mistake.
Well, to be fair, we didn't, that was our very first one. And we were not, until you're watching it on Facebook,
Yeah.
you don't really know what the optics look like. So, I think that is all I have. Like I said, I will send revised slides. I'll send revised moderator guide. And then if there are any other changes or any questions pop up, just let us know. Our goal is to make this as easy for you as possible.
The way I was showing the slides right now, that worked okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Good for me, yeah, right.
What's that? I'm sorry.
It
I
works
said
for
it did for
everybody.
me.
Okay.
I've got a little lag in my, it looks like my lips are moving.
Yeah, it's
Can you hear me
lag
okay?
on this. Yeah.
You know what? It looks like it is to you, but so right now we are streaming to private Facebook and Twitter accounts that the public doesn't have access to. That's part of this test, and we are not seeing any lags on any of the streams.
Okay.
That does remind me, though. Give me 1 second. Let me just pull one more thing up. If you do see, if you see your headshots pop up, or if you see this graphic pop up, that means there is a lag and we're working on fixing it. Just keep talking, because even if the video lags, the audio has been consistently working. We haven't had any issues with audio interruption. The only time that we had audio issues is when the presenter muted themselves. But that's not something that I have control over, unfortunately. And that is part of the reason that for the majority of the presentation, we have the slides up.
Okay.
They can't
Yeah,
tell.
tell me when I look at myself that it seems like there's a lag. Up in my left-hand corner, there's not a lag. Down here in the big photo or the big
Yes.
videos, there's a lag. So, okay.
Yeah, and it's like,
Michael.
it's a little strange, but what you see is not always exactly what the audience is seeing. But I'm getting repeated green light reports. Everything looks good on everywhere this is streaming out to. And it will, on the program night, it will stream to Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So people have lots of options. And we've had mixed. The first atopic derm one, we got close to 100 viewers across the platforms. We did one on severe asthma that actually broke 200. Dr. Blaze, that was the first one. That was the one you did with Dr. Hanania. we did another asthma program that got close to 100. So this will be the fourth one. So we'll see how it does. It's we're figuring out the days and the times and what seems to work best for the audience. So, any other questions for me?
I'm good.
Second.
All right. Well, I am going to let you go. Enjoy your evening. If I'm not in touch tomorrow, it will be early on Wednesday with those new slides. And I look forward to next week.
Okay, thank you.
Have a
Great,
good
thank
night.
you.
Good night, Michael.
Night.